The topic is Dr. Martin Luther King at the 21st century, and the guest is Dr. Baldwin from Vanderbilt University and one of the preeminent Martin Luther King scholars of our period. And of course, Dr. Baldwin, let's continue our conversation dealing with Martin Luther King. I think you were talking about King's attitude toward poverty. And
Yes. And if I had to add something to that, I would say that King consistently called for a redistribution of wealth, for a kind of restructuring of the capitalistic system so that the have-nots can grow in terms of material goods, and I think that's still important today. I think we need to look at the wealthy, we need to look at the people who are very poor, and we need to ask ourselves, why should some people be very, very rich and others be very, very poor? And I think we have to look at capitalism in a very critical way. It's what Dr. King was about. Now, regarding the issue of creating a culture of life and a culture of peace, the issue of war, Dr. King always told us that you can't create that kind of culture with the military or with violence. And it seems to me that too many in our society today are talking about a culture of peace and a culture of life, but they are very open to the use of military means. And another thing about this, let me push it further and say that when Dr. King was talking about this culture, he was not simply talking about the United States. He was talking about a global, on a global level, creating a culture of life and peace from which all people of the world can benefit.
Very good.
And he had that in mind.
Very good. You know, and of course, Dr. King had quite a number of things to say about many things, but now you also mentioned scholarship, and let me sort of raise this question in terms of the scholarship. Has much changed in reference to certain aspects of Dr. King, the assassination, for example, and some of the other things that are traditional in terms of our thought patterns in reference to Dr. King?
That's an excellent question. There are several schools of thought. I mean, I should say, you have those who deal with Dr. King's assassination, who are now subscribing to what is called a conspiracy theory. And that's pretty much accepted now in scholarly circles, that his death resulted from a conspiracy that involved many forces in our society.
So James Earl Ray didn't just go out and shoot him by himself.
Exactly. I mean, that single assassin theory is pretty much rejected now by most scholars. But the scholarship, I find most impressive the fact that the scholarship now is beginning to deal with Dr. King as a thinker, as an intellectual. Up until the 1980s, most of the scholarship treated him as an activist, as one who led demonstrations in the street, as one who employed nonviolent tactics such as boycotts and street demonstrations and civil disobedience, etc. But in the last 2 decades, scholars have become more interested in Dr. King as an intellectual. What kind of ideals did he set forth? Ideals that might be useful for us today as we try to address problems of race, problems of economics, problems of violence and human destruction. So the scholarship is moving in that direction. I think scholars are also beginning to see Dr. King as a world figure. And I think that's important because for too long we limited him to the American context.
Almost to the South.
That's right. And seeing him as a Southern black leader, as an American Gandhi. But now scholars are looking at his impact on liberation movements around the world, in South Africa, Vietnam.